So students, today we'll take up figures of speech. In the first lesson or session, we will take up metaphors. We will see how to recognize a metaphor. We learn what is a metaphor, and we will see how a metaphor is different from similes. There is normally a confusion between while recognizing a metaphor and a simile. So at the end of today's lecture, you all would be able to understand how to recognize a metaphor and how to recognize a simile. Now students, a metaphor tells you that one thing is another thing, whereas a simile, this S I have written for simile, M is for metaphor. A simile tells you that one thing is like another. I repeat, a metaphor says that one thing is another thing, whereas a simile tells you that one thing is like another thing. So metaphor is an implied comparison. Unlike a simile, it does not give a direct comparison. So let's see for examples. Through examples, you would be able to understand better. Time is money. In our conversations, we frequently use this sentence to convey the importance of time to others. Teachers in class always tell students the importance of time, or we convey the importance of time, how valuable time is. Money is valuable, time is valuable. So to convey the importance of time, you say that time is money. You are conveying the message that time is as valuable, time is valuable like money. So time is money. That means you are saying that A is B, right? Whereas you could put it in a different way. You could say that time is like money. So you are saying that A is like B. So you are making a direct comparison between time and money. So this is an example. What I am saying that time is like money is a simile. When I say that time is money, that is A is B, then it's a metaphor. We also very often come across, we use this, if somebody is pretty fast in making mathematical calculations, you say your brain is a computer. What you actually mean to say that the brain, his brain is processing information as fast as a computer. That's what you mean to say. So when you're saying your brain is a computer. Again, students, remember, you're saying that one thing is another. But if I say, so that's a metaphor. When you say that your brain is a computer, it's a metaphor. When you say your brain is like a computer, then you are comparing his brain to a computer, then it will be simile. So students, I hope you understood pretty clear that metaphor is a figure of speech that implies a comparison. It gives you a connection between the two things, right? So you have got the understanding by these two examples. Time is money, A is B, your brain is a computer. Again, it's the variety of A is B, so that is a metaphor. And when you say that time is like money, then it's a direct comparison. Like you're saying that A is like B, then it would be a simile. Students, we'll have a different session on simile, but for now let us focus our attention on metaphors. There are many examples of metaphors. We had gone through one example of metaphor in both the poems that we learned. We learned the poem where the mind is without fear. So in that poem you came across this, where the world is not broken up by narrow domestic walls. So here you learned this, where the world is not broken up by narrow domestic walls. Now domestic walls means the walls in a home that divide your rooms in a home. You have a home in a house, right? So you have your hall being divided from your bedroom or a kitchen by a narrow wall, right? So you are segregating, you are making a compartment in your house, you are dividing your house into different rooms, right? So that's the meaning of where the world is not broken up by narrow walls. What he was trying to convey in the poem was, he was implying that this world should not be broken up by caste, creed, religion, language, which he compared to domestic walls. So here he is talking about old customs, superstitions, caste system as domestic walls. So he is saying that those old caste systems, those old traditions are domestic walls. So there he is implying that. So that's the figure of speech here is metaphor, where the world is not broken by narrow domestic walls. So he is saying that A is B. That means those narrow thoughts, those caste traditions, those religious beliefs on the basis of which society is divided, they are domestic walls. Then we have also gone through the poem on All the World's a Stage. The entire poem in fact was metaphorical. If you see all these three lines in the stanza, they are directly implying something, they are metaphors. All the world's a stage. So he's saying the world is a stage, right? So it's a metaphor. The world's a stage, world is a stage. So just as I told you, a metaphor says that A is B, right? It's not saying that A is like B. So the world's a stage, so this is a metaphor. Then all men and women are players. Players refers to actors. On a stage you have actors, right? So the world's a stage and all men and women are players. So men is a player, woman is also a player. So A is B, metaphor, right? So all men and women are players. If it had to be, students, all men and women are like players or are like actors. So if you have a like or as, then it would become a simile. But here it is said directly that all men and women are players, that is A is B, so it's a metaphor. Then they have their exits and entrances, come and go. All people, men, women come and go. People are born, people die. So there is a direct comparison with birth into entrance and death with exit, right? So what happens is, it is said that they all have their exits and entrances. They all have their entrances. Entrance refers to birth, exit refers to death. So they all have it's A is B. Entrance is birth, exit is death. So this is a metaphor, right? So by now you would have understood that a metaphor says that one thing is another, A is B, whereas a simile tells you that one thing is like another. You saw in one of the example that all the world's a stage, a small schoolboy walking to school or creeping like a snail. There the word was used like a snail. So the boy was compared to being like a snail as he was walking slowly, just as a snail creeps slowly. So there the figure of speech used is simile, and simile is very easy, students, to recognize. You look at the words, you read the sentence, you will come across like or as, then it's a simile. Here now, it was so easy for you to recognize that this is a metaphor because it is said that time is money, A is B, right? So by now, students, you have understood what is a metaphor. So we will give you some examples on metaphor. So let us now move on to what is a simile. So students, now we come to simile. Let's see how it is different. So simile, it compares a figure of speech. Simile is a figure of speech which compares two things by saying that one is like the other or as another. Let's take an example. You say that they fight like cats and dogs. Very often, while you have children at home fighting, so while referring to them or telling somebody that or describing how they fight, we often say that they fight like cats and dogs. Means they fight in the same manner with each other, just as cats and dogs do. Probably you see them on a road, cats fighting with one another, dogs fighting with one another. So you are trying to create a mental picture of the extent to which the children are fighting at home or fighting in school. So they fight like cats and dogs, right? They are not actually cats and dogs, but they fight like cats and dogs. So you are comparing the fight between the two kids to the cats, to the fights taking place between cats and dogs. So this is an example of simile. They fight like cats and dogs. Then he runs as fast as a sports car. So just saying merely he runs fast, you won't get an idea of how fast the person is running. But if I make a statement saying that he runs as fast as a sports car, now all of you know how fast a sports car moves, right? So when I tell you that he runs as fast as a sports car, you have already created a picture in your mind of how fast the person must be running when I'm comparing it to the sports car. So this is also a very good example of simile. So students, I believe at the end of today's lecture, you could have understood both the things. Simile also compares two things by saying that one is like the other or as another, but a metaphor compares two things by saying that one is another. Time is money. When you're saying that time is money, you're implying that time is as valuable as money. So at the end of today's lecture, I believe you have understood the difference between simile and metaphor. So during the next lecture, we'll take up another two figures of speech. I'll send you some sentences as an assignment so you can recognize what is a simile and which one is a simile and where is a metaphor used. So today's learning objective was to basically understand what is a simile, what is a metaphor, and what's the difference between the two of them, right? So thank you, students. Take care.